introduce yourself a little bit. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm a transformation coach, an author, an artist, and an educator. And I've been offering healing and creative and spiritual development modalities via my website, juliehoyle.org. And I've been doing that for 20 years. And what really underpins all of that is, and really drives that, is that I had a really dramatic, unexpected, and life-changing spiritual awakening that happened in 1989. Mm-hmm. And what was really fascinating was it was completely outside of my understanding or awareness of, you know, anything to do with awakening, because I really didn't think of myself as a spiritual seeker. I wasn't looking. I just knew that I was, you know, discontent, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so I had this radical awakening, and that through a lucid dream initiation. And that really directed my entire life. It actually dismantled my entire life. Mm-hmm. Hi there. Excuse the intrusion, but I just wanted to take a moment and personally thank you for watching this episode. It really means a lot. And I would really love it if you would leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji. That then lets YouTube and the algorithm know that what I'm sharing has value. And if you haven't already done so, I would really love it if you would subscribe. So thank you so much, and let's get back to this episode. I've always been a lucid dreamer, and ever since childhood, I've always been clairvoyant, clairaudient, empathic, very sensitive, and all of those things. And I naturally assumed that when I was really, really young, that this was true for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in my early teens, through conversations with other friends, I realized that this wasn't the case. And I actually remember one day looking up at the sky and saying, I can't do this. It's too much responsibility. Take it away. And so my gifts were closed down essentially. And then at the age of 33, when I had this radical awakening, everything just opened up again really dramatically. And then, following that lucid dream initiation, it was like the gifts, the lid on all the gifts was just blown off.
Wow.
And there was just crazy stuff happening. I mean, light bulbs were bursting. They would go really bright and they would just burst. And fans would spin, standing fans, and they weren't even plugged in.
Yeah.
And there was crazy stuff happening for quite a few years actually afterwards. And I knew it linked to the awakening of this energy that was pouring through my being. And, it just changed everything.
So how did you learn to control it?
I'd always been drawn to the idea of learning to meditate. I'd always wanted to do that. And I really never had until I had, what precipitated the awakening was that I had a problem with my back that no doctors could seemingly try and sort of help with in any way. So I went through a period of bed rest for about 2 months, 2 or 3 months, and I could hardly get out of bed. It was just terrible. And so I actually prayed. And I said, if you can help me. I didn't even know whether I believed in God. I've been raised a good Catholic, so to speak.
Yeah. You just threw it out into the universe.
Yes. But so anyway, I just threw that out into the universe. And then what happened was, and I promised, if you can heal me, then I'll start, doing some sort of spiritual practices, or I'll go to church or whatever,
Yeah.
And then what happened was a friend came by and said, she just nonchalantly told me there was a meditation group just down the road from where I lived. So I thought, I'll go, if I start to feel better, I'll go. And honestly, the next day I started to feel better.
Wow.
And so a few weeks later, I went along to the meditation. And I think, like most people, unless people are, natural, and I certainly wasn't, but I just tried and I just couldn't meditate. My mind wouldn't be still for anything. It was just spinning like crazy. And I remember looking around the room thinking, I really like these people. They're all professional people. They're not like wacky people, which was really important to me. I know it sounds shallow, but that was really important to me. So.
So, but it shows it doesn't really matter. You know,
It doesn't
you
matter.
can
No,
think
it
and
doesn't
feel
matter.
how you are. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. It's not
it
about
doesn't
that.
matter.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happened was I went through 3 or 4 times, and then in the end, I just said, I've tried meditation. I just can't do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I went home, and that night I had this lucid dream.
Yeah.
Where this yogi, this massive yogi, tapped me on the top of the head, and my entire body was filled with this incredible energy. And then I held the energy for as long as I could, and then I crashed through time and space, landed in my body, sat up, and went, you know, took a breath because I hadn't been breathing.
Yeah.
And my husband said, you know, what happened to you? I said, I don't know, but my life will never be the same again.
Wow.
And those words they proved to be prophetic.
Yeah.
Because what happened is, you know, and I didn't have a clue what had hit me, but, you know, it was 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. I had so much energy. I was running around the apartment cleaning and, you know, like a crazy person. And then the next day I, you know, got up, went to work, and I just happened, I had a break at lunchtime, and I went to a bookstore to see if I could find out what this all meant, because I really didn't know. And I turned around and saw this lady, and this lady who was a friend had been in the dream with me the night before. And I said to her, oh my God, Cheryl, this is amazing. You know, I had this dream. What does it mean? And she said, oh my word, what you've been given is an incredible gift. It's called Shaktipat.
Oh,
Come to my house later and I'll give you a book about it. So I did. I went to the house. She gave me a book, and I opened the book. And, you know, in the preface, just before the preface, there was a photo. And there was a photo of the great being who had given me initiation in the dream.
Oh.
And honestly, the energy that was pouring through me was just incredible. And that was just the beginning. Because what happened is I then started to have lucid dream encounters with great yogis, master yogis, and great saints from diverse paths, faiths, and traditions, and Native American shamans, and just incredible beings of light, Jesus, Mother Mary, and they would come and give me teachings and give me initiations, and you know, and then I'd wake up again filled with energy, and my whole state of being would expand. And you know, with many of those beings, I could recognize their state, because you know, you recognize the fullness of someone who is liberated. You can feel it. And so I would say, oh, you know, thank you so much. I you know, I really appreciate you, you know, coming and being here with me. What is your name?
Yeah.
And they would tell me their name. And then I would wake up, and then I'd go online and do the research and find out, oh, Swami Ram Tirth was a great, you know, yogi, and he was a mathematician, or the mother was a great being. So, you know, all of that then just wove its way into my life and changed the entire direction of my life, essentially.
So that always happens at night? Wow. It must, you know, it must like, oh gosh, I'm going to sleep now. What's going to happen next? You know?
Yeah. And not just at night as well, during the day. And I'll get these downloads and these messages to do things.
Yeah.
Or I'll get what I would call, say, a reading about someone or about an event or a situation.
Yeah.
Or I'll get a directive to do something.
Yeah.
And then I honestly usually don't have a clue how to do it, but I just say yes. Yeah. And I know I trust the place from which the directive is coming. And I know that I'll be given help. And that always happens every single time.
Wow. Must be very exciting. Yeah.
You know, it's really incredible. I just sometimes I don't know, I pinch myself, I guess. I really don't, because you know, with respect to context, you know, I was born into a working class family in the UK. I have 4 brothers and a sister. you know, my father was a steel worker. My mother was like an auxiliary nurse. My mother always used to say she was an agnostic.
Yeah.
My father was really a failed Catholic. You know?
Okay.
You know, whenever the priest would sometimes come to the house to try and find out, you know, why we weren't all going to church as a family. And my father would see the priest coming down the walkway, and he'd say, you know, go answer the door and tell him I'm not home. Okay. So I'd have to go and lie to a priest, imagine.
Yeah.
So this was the, you know, and I had always had this strange fascination and interest in yoga.
Yeah.
And one of the sort of prevailing memories for me is that I remember I must have been around 8 years old, and I was sitting one evening watching a National Geographic program with my father, and it was really fascinating because it was detailing these master yogis who could contort themselves into these amazing shapes, right? And then at the sort of the great finale was they took this fairly advanced in age yogi, they put him in a sealed box, like a glass box, and then they chained it, and then they submerged the box at the end of a deep end of a swimming pool, and this yogi was under the water for I seem to remember it was 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It was a long time, beyond the normal capacity for anybody to be able to survive, you know, survive. And what happened is they brought him out, opened the lid, and he just hopped out as if it was nothing. And they put these electrodes on his head and on his chest and everything, right, to test his, you know, blood pressure and everything, brain capacity and all the things, you know, that they were testing. So anyway, what happened was he walked away, and I remember clearly my father turned to me and he said, "Do you believe it? Do you think it's really true?" And without even questioning anything, I said, "Yes, it's true. I know it's true. It's absolutely true."
So can I guess your dad did not believe it?
Well, I don't know. You know, I think he was kind of open. He really was. And he was fascinated by it as well. But, you know, the thing that I recognize now is there's something that rose up from within me. That completely recognized, saw it, knew it actually, because, you know, it's the self that recognizes the self. The higher self recognizes itself. And, you know, and that proves itself true for all of us. When we read a text, for example, that resonates with truth, there's something in us that rises up and recognizes it. And it can only be its source, or another way of putting it, source recognizes source, or the higher self recognizes the higher self. So even at that very, very early, very young age, I recognized immediately that there was something beyond, you know, this personhood. And that really drove my interest in traveling, and then, you know, wanting to come to the Bahamas and work in the Bahamas. And
so why the Bahamas?
Well, you know, at the time my husband and I were both teaching in London, and we both, I just had a stint in Italy, in Naples, Italy, before I met my husband. And I loved living abroad. It was a lot of fun, you know, I was up for an adventure and all those things. And I was really happy that he was interested in traveling too. So we just looked at what jobs were available and looked pretty much all over the world. And then when the Bahamas landed, there was obviously it's, you know, everybody's paradise.
Who wouldn't want to live on a tropical island, right?
Exactly. So, you know, but obviously there was a much deeper call than the Bahamas, you know, than the like the lure of the Bahamas as an island that was calling me. And what actually happened was we landed here in 1980, August of 1980, and honestly, you know, I mean, we were really pretty spoiled in terms of the landscape and the beauty and the ocean. And we bought a boat and we'd go water skiing and snorkeling and going to these wonderful parties, and we were part of all these groups, you know, social groups and everything. And yet, even though I was exposed to all of these things and the luxury homes and everything, there was still something within me that was deeply discontent. And I remember going to parties and functions and events, just longing to meet someone who could speak to whatever this discontent and this longing was. I couldn't even put it into words. But the thing that I knew is that when I met that person, I would know and I would recognize who that person was, and they would be able to speak to what I felt was missing and was underneath the longing. And so invariably I'd go to these fabulous events, you know, under the palm trees, you know, with all the lights, twinkling lights and the whole thing. And I'd come away just feeling really disappointed.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that went on from 1980 until 1989. And then when I had this lucid dream, and I walked in the dream, I was walking up a hill with this lady, Cheryl. And then we went into this sort of cinder block building. And at the back of the building, sitting on this low wooden tucket, was this master yogi wearing a loincloth. And the minute I saw him, I recognized him. I knew him. And everything in me just bowed down. And I knew that he was a form of God. And I knew that that was what I was looking for. And
it's strange how you can be restless while, as you said, while you've got everything around you. Yeah.
And so that, you know, that this absolute recognition of truth saw itself, so to speak, saw itself. There was this absolute recognition that he was the one that I had been searching for. And then following that, it was after he'd given me initiation, and he, of course, he started to come in dreams as well, and he still does, to give teachings, usually silent teachings. He doesn't speak very much. But it was almost like, the only way to put it is that he handed me the key to his home and his family. And it was as if every single great being that he knew then came into my life to introduce themselves and to give a teaching or to give initiation.
Wow.
And of course, I've never read anything like this. I don't know. I've never seen any other account of anything like this.
So did you have any ideas for yourself? Like, I can understand that maybe you even started to doubt yourself, or that other people might have given you ideas that, or remarks that were like, are you doing all right there, Julie?
You know, honestly, the best way to answer that is I wisely understood that this was not something to share to just anybody, because, you know,
this was private for you.
It was private. The great thing is that because my husband witnessed it as well. Yeah. And he was there. And, you know, I actually wasn't even questioning if I was going crazy, because I absolutely knew there was something deep in me that recognized that what was happening was part of the process of awakening. And there were a few people at the meditation center that I knew well enough to trusted and was able to speak to about everything that happened. And they completely confirmed everything. They were amazed because they never heard anything like it. And then one of them said to me, you should write to, in the lineage, there's a current meditation master who is in India right now. Write a message, detail what's happened, and, you know, see what kind of response you get. So I went out and bought a beautiful card, and I detailed it all out, and I sent it off. And then honestly, I completely forgot all about it, because I was so busy. I was teaching and I was doing these things. I just forgot all about it. And then I think 3 months later, I went to the post. We don't have a house delivery in the Bahamas. We all have, you know, mailboxes. So I went there after work one day, you know, went upstairs and up my box. And for some weird reason, I saw there was a white envelope in there. For some weird reason, I didn't put just one hand in there to pull out the envelope. I put both my hands in. And honestly, the energy coming out of that envelope was so strong. It just knocked me backwards, and I gasped, and I just could feel something. And I looked at the postcode, and I thought, this is coming from New York. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know anybody in New York. It did not make any sense, but I knew enough. I have to take this letter home, and I'll read it when I get home. So I drove home, you know, went outside, went somewhere quiet and sat and opened it. And it was a really beautiful card. And it had been sent from India via a New York
Wow.
before it had come to me.
Wow.
And the response was, thank you so much for your beautiful account of your dream initiation. And in answer to your question, great beings do come in dreams to give initiation. And you know that this is real and true if your life has changed as a result.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat there and just burst into tears. I couldn't stop crying. I was sobbing because I realized in those 3 months that I'd received initiation where I was now, I had stopped drinking. I'd stopped eating meat. I had started to meditate on a regular basis. I had started doing self-inquiry practices. I was repeating the mantra that Nityananda had given me in the initiation. I'd also just very naturally fallen away from being with certain people, you know, that there was no resonance with anymore, because their sort of orientation was different. And all of this, I do have to say, all of those changes were not conscious at all. None of it. It's not like I thought, I'm going to be vegetarian now.
No. Yeah. So it just evolved.
It completely evolved in its own way, in a very natural way. And it was like the energy had moved through my life and had taken up residency without any conscious choice on my part at all.
Wow. That is a really beautiful story. I mean, I hope you write it down one day. Or did you already?
Well, you know, then what happened was in 2008, I had, you know, again, a lucid dream. And one of the great beings who had been coming to me, she came in the dream and she said, Julie, when are you writing the book? And I said, what am I supposed to write about? So she just went like this and looked at me.
Yeah.
And then she started to walk away, and then she turned and she looked over her shoulder and she said, it's important to understand your own journey.
Yeah.
So what happened was then, you know, I came out of that dream and I woke up and I was just filled with this amazing energy from her, you know, as usual. And I remember thinking, you know, I'll write the book since you've asked me, you know, I'll write the book, but I'm not going to write a single word if it comes out of the mind and the ego. I'm just not interested. I'm just not. So I just left it alone. I didn't do a thing. And then I think around 2 or 3 months later, my husband and I were invited to do a house sit from some friends who were going to the US. The guy was a kind of researcher and he was traveling around the US giving talks and things. And they said, you know, would you be available to do a house sit to take care of our dog? We've got this elderly dog and, you know, he's a sweetheart and he needs some help, you know, taking him out for a walk and just feed him and so on. So I said, yes, sure, because their place is really beautiful. So there we were. I think we were 2 or 3 days in. And I took Max out for a walk one morning, brought him back, and then I went upstairs and sat on the patio and I was drinking coffee, looking at the palm trees and the ocean, you know. And literally all of a sudden, I just started to hear all these words coming down and through me. And I just picked up a pen and started writing. And it was literally dictated. It was like it was dictated word for word. And so that was how the book came out.
You're a channel. You channel all this energy. Hey, it's is that what you, when you work with others, is that what you advise them to open up and be open to receive? You know?
Sure. it depends on what people are coming to me for, because, there's a wide range of issues people want to look at. But, the thing that is always predominant in everything I do with people is to work with them on trusting their own innate knowing and their own intuitive knowing. And I give them tools and practices that really help with that, because, I can easily tell someone what I'm perceiving and hearing very specifically with respect to his or her life.
Yeah.
And I'll obviously give that information in the beginning to help them. But then it is very, very important for me to empower someone to be able to extract that information for him or herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to realize that, the higher self is available for everyone, or source, or whatever you want to call that wisdom that is always here.
Yeah. Yeah. It is there, but you need to just connect with it.
Yes, and trust it. And, and also I think too, it's finding easy roads in that are innate and organic for you. Because obviously if you have, let's say, a single mom with 3 kids under the age of 12 or whatever, telling her to meditate for 2 or 3 hours a day is not going to work.
It's difficult.
You know what I mean?
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. Yeah.
So I just love throwing these new ideas out with respect to what meditation can look like for people. Yeah. And that's sometimes surprising, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
I meditate by creating, during creating. I find it harder. It's possible, but I find it harder to just sit and do nothing. When I create, and especially certain things, that's when I drift into meditation. And
yes.
Yeah, so I do get that. Some people will probably have music to do that, yes. or dance, or move, something like that.
Yes, it's really about, and this is so important for people to understand, that methods of meditation are really infinite. Just sitting and looking at the sky, for example, or going out in the garden and doing your weeding, or cutting, peeling potatoes in the kitchen.
I'm just gonna go meditate now, and then you just feel.
Yes.
Yeah. No, but it's true. I mean, it is usually it and it's individual, right? That's
absolutely.
The thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, because that can be such a stumbling block for people when they say, the big thing, I don't have time, is always the mantra, I don't have time.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, let's look at ways where, and it's really, I always say, forget the idea of time, just think about space.
Yeah.
Create space, even if it's for 5 minutes, and it might be journaling. Maybe journaling is the way someone can connect into source. And ask questions in your journal.
Yeah, asking questions.
Yes.
Stirring a pot of soup, that's really nice too.
Yes, I know. And just doing something that is a feel-good event, It doesn't have to be some big thing.
No. So it's not difficult to ask what you do in times of uncertainty. Obviously, you have your toolbox to revert to. Right? You have your ways to get you through, shaky situations.
Yes. I mean, for years I used to, I've got a whole pile of journals here, actually. I think I've got 9 or 10 journals. And I used to, one of my favorite practices, I don't do it now because honestly, the space between having a question about something and receiving it's almost one and the same. The answer is inherent in the question, so to speak. So I don't struggle in that way. And one of the things I do love, though, and I've shared this extensively with clients, is to sit with a journal, and when you're really feeling like you're stuck, or you need to see a way forward, or you have a question, you can ask a very simple question, which is, where am I in my life right now? And then the first visual that comes up is an image with respect, because even if you don't feel like you're artistic or whatever, where am I in my life right now? If you invite an image to come up, something will come up usually. and then draw that in your journal. And it really doesn't matter if you think you can't draw, and it's what I call a crappy drawing, it can be a stick man or whatever, you just draw that in your journal and then look at it and then give it a title as if it's a movie or a book. Mm-hmm. What would you call it? Boxed in at work, or whatever whatever you feel is going on, and then do stream of consciousness writing about what you're seeing visually. Because the important thing about this exercise is that since you're starting from a visual place, you're actually connecting into the subconscious, mm-hmm. and you're seeing clearly where you're at and what's going on. So there's no time really for the mind to start trying to analyze and constrain or contract or turn it into some pretty picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very effective. It's very simple, and it's very, very effective. And sometimes I'll look through old journals and I'll look at what I wrote in 2008 or 2007. I was just like, jeepers, look at that. And everything that's written is just so on point and so clear with respect to what was happening and what I was moving into, or what I was being called to move into. And it's just a fantastic practice. And I really would encourage anybody to use that. And it's accessible. You can do it whenever you like, right?
Yeah. That's true. How do you start to become calm and collected so that you can actually build up your confidence and make your connections with your inner self and understanding yourself and all that? Like, what would you say?
I think it's really important to have boundaries. Yeah. And to say, especially if you've got, say, 2 or 3 or 4 kids and a husband at home and all the rest craziness, just say, guys, I need 5 minutes, or I need 10 minutes, or I need 20 minutes, or I need an hour, I need to go soak in the tub, or whatever you need to withdraw and be with yourself in the most organic and natural and healing way possible. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is that if you don't do it for yourself, nobody else will do it for you. It just won't.
It's true.
And it's such a simple thing, but especially with women really forget to take care of themselves. And I think a lot of it is because we've been hardwired into thinking and believing that, and of course we are by nature nurturers and caregivers and all the rest of it, but it's really important to just include yourself in that caregiving and in that nurturing. And whatever that looks like for you, in terms of being able to withdraw and to just have some quiet time, or take yourself out somewhere for a while, but to do it on a regular basis, not just once a week.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, but I have to admit that it is sometimes difficult when there are so many things pulling at you, and especially so like my clients, for instance, they're mostly little small business owners themselves, and then it is sometimes hard to have these boundaries in place, and I think that's such a good thing to say, like what you said, is have your boundaries, clear boundaries, that you do keep space for yourself, because it is like a battery that you need to recharge, right?
Yes. And here's the thing as well, is that we all know people actually respect you a whole lot more if you do have boundaries. If you don't, especially in the workplace. Family's a whole other different thing, but especially in the workplace, if you have no boundaries, you're not going to survive. You really have to have clear boundaries in place.
And it builds your confidence. Having boundaries, it also builds an inner confidence as well. And when you feel more confident, you feel more ready for what's coming next, right?
Yes. And here's the thing as well, is if you have difficulty speaking and articulating to what your boundaries are, you could practice writing them out first with respect to what do I need to be able to take care of myself in a day or in a week. And just look at those, and then gain confidence from what you've written, and then articulate them. So it's important.
But you are quite busy actually now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm extremely extremely busy. Here's the thing though, because I really absolutely love what I do, it doesn't sort of drain me. And I'm very good about taking time for myself. So for example, I didn't today, but I normally, in between finishing, periods of work and then maybe going onto a live stream or a teaching event, I'll go and take a long walk, or I'll go swim. I usually swim. We've got a few swimming pools around the place, so I'll go and swim. Or I'll sometimes do Pilates with my friend. We roll out our yoga mats there's a tennis court in our complex.
Yeah.
We put the music up and my friend's trying to lose weight. I just want to be, build some. So I join her. We just laugh so much. And it's really important to have those little moments, especially with exercise, to get outside. It helps with just coming back to center, de-stressing, enjoying, having some fun as well, not getting too serious about everything.
Yeah. As you said, you laugh a lot. That's important as well. Because laughter relaxes. Yeah, I mean, I laugh so much, honestly. I mean, I went to the dentist earlier, right? And I'd cracked a tooth a couple of weeks ago. So anyway, the dentist came in. She said, "Hello, I'm Dr. Monroe. Did they tell you that Dr. Warren isn't going to be seeing you?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry." And I said, "Listen, I really don't care. As long as you don't pitch up, as long as you don't turn up with a hammer and a pair of pliers, I don't mind you." So she was just laughing. I was laughing my head off. And, and all the way home I was thinking, and she did a great job and it was fine. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, and I know I made her day because everybody in the office was laughing and then she was telling everybody. And it's really important to share your joy and share your laughter and keep smiling and turn things into as light an experience as possible. Yeah, definitely. Julie, is there anything that you would like to mention that we might have forgotten to touch on?
All I would say is for everybody that's listening, really, really start taking care of yourself and create space for yourself to be quiet and connect in and to listen to your own higher intelligence or your innate wisdom, whatever you want to call that, which is outside of religiosity.
Yeah. Your superpower. Your superpower.
I love it. Or as I called it, in one of the talks I gave, your weird is your wonderful.
Yeah.
Whatever your weird is, whatever you might think is weird is, it's really, because it's really the source of joy.
I know.
And especially if you want more joy and more play in your life as well, and more creativity in your life, then the way to do that is to go through the doorway and into the silence of your own being and to listen to what you're hearing and to act on it, because it will never take you astray. It will always take you in directions that you could never have dreamed of. And it just gifts you with a very expansive life and an abundant life in ways, again, that you would never have anticipated.
I love your positivity. I love your positive attitude, your vibes. It is true. It all builds to lift you up. Creativity and fun and laughter and, open-mindedness and all that. It just helps you. Yeah. It helps you expand.
It does. And like I said, I never dreamed in a million years I'd be writing and doing all these things and creating courses and doing all these things I'm doing.
Yeah.
And
there
I
you
just
are.
said yes, and here I am. And hey,
it's been really a blessing to have you. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I loved every minute.
Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.